Time to re-up YouTube. Your boy Young Mustard is back with another video, and y'all already know what we gotta talk about. We gotta talk about the Celtics' demise in the Eastern Conference Finals, because I've seen a lot of things throughout my lifetime. I've seen a black president, I've seen an orange president, I've seen the current president say I'm not black if I don't vote for him. So just know I've seen a lot of things, and a lot of them do involve presidents. But I have never seen in my life a team down 3-0 as the home team against an 8th seed, then force a game 7 at home after being down 3-0 and then getting smacked. I mean, you talk about a roller coaster of emotions in this series, that's exactly what it was. And as you guys can see from the title, I am not trying to pin everything on Jaylen Brown, but going back to the offseason and the conversations about him, it's very clear that the narratives that not only the media but fans themselves threw about how great of a player he is, or that they believed he was, affected so much of their season and the ending in particular.
It's just pretty shitty for Jaylen Brown to find out that from both Woj and Shams that Boston are shopping him, and I don't know how they come back from that if they don't end up doing the Durant trade. This is rare that it gets out in that way, that Jaylen, like, it's names. Boston are willing to part with Jaylen Brown to go get Durant, and Brooklyn said no.
It really is crazy to me that Kevin Durant, despite the tough loss that he had to the Celtics last year, getting swept in his worst series as a Brooklyn Net, and you could argue as an NBA player in general, how it swayed so many people into thinking that yes, even though the Celtics made the finals and Jaylen Brown had some really good games along the way, that all of a sudden trading KD for JB was going to be this huge catastrophic mistake. Look, don't get me wrong, Jaylen Brown had some really good performances last year in the postseason. Hell, even in the finals, you could say he outplayed Jason Tatum, even though it was a shit-off. But when I was seeing people furious with the Boston Celtics that they were even considering the idea of trading Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant, that's when I started understanding that Jaylen Brown was getting overrated by NBA fans. Look, JB is a really good player, one of the top 30 players in the league, but the gap between him and Kevin Durant is so massive that you would be foolish as a GM or owner or whoever you are in a position of power in an organization to not at least entertain the idea of at least swapping the two. And I don't think people understand that just the fact that JB is in trade talks for exchange of a guy like KD just shows how good of a young player he is in the first place. Say what you want about Kevin Durant, but he is a top 10 player in the league. Those guys don't just grow on trees. The flexibility that he provides to any team on both sides of the ball, especially for a team like Boston, would be a huge leap and make that team the instant favorites to win a championship every single year. And when you throw in the fact that yes, KD is on a max contract, but he's not going to get that super max deal that Jaylen Brown's probably going to get in the future, which we're going to get to in a second, trust me, I definitely think you're going to be getting more for your buck with a guy like Kevin Durant as opposed to someone like JB. It really is crazy to me that people thought it was so disrespectful of the Celtics to try to upgrade their team after they just lost in the finals. Jaylen Brown is a great player, but he is not Luka Doncic. He is not Jason Tatum. He is not on the level of somebody that is quote unquote untradeable just because they made the finals and he played well. The only thing that you can really criticize the Celtics for as far as that situation goes is not consulting JB and talking to him directly about it beforehand, if that was the case, of course.
I still think Jaylen Brown may be the better talent. And I'm sorry, when I look at the complete package, I look at Jaylen Brown and I just say, you just have that it factor. I love what I'm seeing. Like with JT, I feel like there's so many things that can go wrong at any given moment and he just folds. When I look at Jaylen Brown, I don't even know if I want him to be the number one just because he's so elite at being number two. I don't even know if I want him to take over the reins and control this team.
What? When you look at Jaylen Brown hoop, it's like, it's something there. What you're seeing from Jason Tatum is what you're getting for the next 13 years. Jaylen, I think he has something that we're not seeing yet.
I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
Time in and time out, the Jaylen Brown versus Jason Tatum conversation has consistently pissed me the hell off. It's crazy to me the pretzels that people put themselves in about Jason Tatum versus Jaylen Brown. I don't care what you think, the fact that anyone can even insinuate that JB is better than JT just means those people don't know basketball. A lot of the flaws in Jaylen Brown's game are not even complex. They are fundamental basic basketball issues, and it's insane to me that anyone anyone can argue otherwise to the point that they're putting JB on this pedestal to be better than JT. JT definitely has his flaws, and the biggest issue has to be his shot diet of only layups, threes, and free throws. That pisses me off so much that he has completely negated the mid-range game. He was never a great mid-range shooter, but to at least have some type of variety helps a lot, especially in fourth quarter situations. And I could also talk about the turnover issue with JT at times, but I don't even think that's that big of a situation because he's still a relatively good playmaker. But that's really where my criticism for JT stops, and those are not basic fundamental issues. Those are things about him that you just have to give or take, just like every other player. But in the case of JB, he has issues that are basic fundamental basketball problems. JB does not know how to dribble a basketball. Anytime he tries to get by his man, it's an automatic turnover, especially when he goes left. His handle is loose, he plays reckless, and anytime he gets in the middle of traffic, whether it's in transition or in the half court, it's automatically a turnover. And it affects so many parts of not only his game, but the momentum of the Celtics offense. And on a roster that has other playmaking options and connectors with guys like Marcus Smart, Al Horford, Derek White, and Jason Tatum, it's crazy to me how so many people get mad when Joe Mazzulla takes the ball out of Jaylen Brown's hands in the half court. He simply is more of a play finisher than a play creator. He's not a great playmaker or passer, decision maker, because he turns the ball over consistently off the dribble. So how can I trust him for multiple possessions, especially down the stretch of these games, to have the ball in his hands and actually make a positive decision that's going to lead to great offense? It just doesn't happen very often for him. But then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and it's really crazy to me how people overvalue on-ball defense, especially for perimeter players. It's crazy. Jaylen Brown is the perfect example of the problem when it comes to evaluating defense in the NBA. JB is a good on-ball defender. Don't get me wrong, he moves his feet very well laterally. He's very sound on the ball on the perimeter, especially against guards and some wings. But people need to understand that in the postseason, on-ball defense can only take you so far. You're not stopping the best offensive players in the league consistently on a night in and night out basis. So team defense matters a whole lot more than a lot of people realize, which puts a heightened level of emphasis on the off-ball defense, which Jaylen Brown lacks all the time. There have been so many moments where he ball watches all the time, he allows backdoor cuts, spot up threes, and it's so annoying. I mean, hell, one of the reasons why the Sixers series even went to 7 games in the first place where James Harden hit that 3 is because Jaylen Brown ball watched, went to Embiid in the post, even though there was already Al Horford shading. He helped off James Harden, which gave the Sixers the lead and tied up the series for them, preventing them from going down 3-1 to the Celtics. These are just simple fundamental issues in Jaylen Brown's game, and it wouldn't be that big of an issue if people understood that he was a number 2, but when you have people that constantly bring up the Jaylen Brown versus Jason Tatum argument and say that Jaylen Brown is the most consistent player on the Celtics, and bring up dumb points like, oh my god, he outplayed Jason Tatum in the finals last year, as if it wasn't an Al-Qaeda versus ISIS situation where they were both shit. It was a shit off, bruh. These are the goofy talking points that people bring up to defend Jaylen Brown and act like they are actually on the same level, or the argument of people saying, oh, they're not on the same level, JT's better, but the gap isn't that much. All of that shit needs to be put to bed. We saw it on full display in game 7. JT was on a sprained ankle, or it looked like at least bare minimum a twisted ankle, and he still found a way to outperform Jaylen Brown in that game 7. 8 turnovers. 8 turnovers. And if you look at those turnovers, it was basically him just trying to dribble and he turned the ball over. At the end of the day, Jaylen Brown is simply overrated by a lot of people, not only in the media, but fans themselves. This season, people took themselves from saying, oh, it's disrespectful to trade a barely top 25 to top 30 player in the league for a top 10 player in KD. That's where it all started. It then led into conversations of people saying that the gap between JT JT and JB isn't that much, or that they're on the same level somehow. Then he made an All-NBA team, and he's at risk of making a supermax deal of over $300 million that could kill the Celtics' future dead as soon as they put the ink to paper. And that's the issue with this All-NBA bullshit, which could be another video for another day, but we literally saw the same bullshit happen in Utah with Rudy Gobert, and now it's killing the Minnesota Timberwolves franchise as we speak. But like I said earlier in the video, this is not all on Jaylen Brown, but when you look at how the season ended for this team, a lot of the issues go back into the fact that their second option simply has a lot of flaws that people seem to overlook and act like aren't huge issues for this roster, especially down the stretch of close games. Caleb Martin outplayed Jaylen Brown in the Eastern Conference Finals. That isn't hyperbole, that isn't exaggeration, that is a legitimate fact. Jaylen Brown averaged 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, along with 4 turnovers a game, while shooting 42% from the field, 16% from 3, and 66% at the free throw line, which is a true shooting percentage of 46%. Meanwhile, you got Caleb Martin giving him the business offensively with 19 points a game, 6 rebounds on 60, 49, and 88 shooting splits, which is a true shooting percentage of 74%. The man got outplayed by a role player in the conference finals. That is pathetic, and the fact that he could potentially still get $300 million off of a supermax is crazy to me. Please understand when I tell you that the Celtics have one man to blame for how their season ended in the conference finals, and that isn't Jason Tatum, it isn't Marcus Smart, and it definitely is not Joe Mazzulla. It's Jaylen fucking Brown. And all you fans who sit there and act like he and Jason Tatum, there isn't some significant gap, or that he is on the same level of players like Donovan Mitchell or even Anthony Edwards, you gotta shoulder some blame and responsibility because you sat there in the offseason and acted like it was a crime to move him for KD, when in reality that was just praise on JB that he was even in those conversations in the first place. The reality is JB is not the player that a lot of you idiots think he is, plain and simple. But before I wrap up this video, I want to give you guys the question of the day. Today's question that you guys should drop in the comment section is, who is most responsible for the failure of the Celtics season in the conference finals? I really want to know what you guys think, because some people are still blaming Joe Mazzulla, some people are blaming Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, a multitude of guys that you could point to for this loss, but I want to know your opinions down below in the comment section. Don't forget to also like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media, the links are down below in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. You guys stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.